They tryna turn Trenton into Baby Flint. Been signs by depression on the billboards ever since. 100 years ago we was lynched. Now they use germ warfare to kill us. I'm convinced, got the evidence. I look around and it's evident. Then go down to City Hall and see so much negligence. Real art is intelligent. A true artist sends messages that speak to your intelligence. They fought and died so I can do my thing. Not to get drunk and high or join no game. I will not let none of you die in vain. For my people I bang, bang, bang. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. They say post-traumatic slavery disorder's fake, but I just tell them all to wake up. Everything we went through, what a way down a rape, bro. Isn't our genetic makeup. So I am my ancestors from block to block. Let's build like it's Tetris. We must unite, link up like a necklace. They fought and died and we disrespected. So I come to correct it. The legacy they left I protected. We only think about self and neglected. You're African but yet you rejected. No, my ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. My ancestors been through so much pain. I don't let them die in vain. I rep for you in everything I do. I rep for you in every place I go. I rep for you in everything I do. In every place I go. I do. I go.
Hello. Peace, peace. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Peace and
Alaikum
blessings.
assalam.
What's going on, everybody? You tuned in to New Freedom Exchange on Facebook, on YouTube, on now streaming on Twitch, New Freedom Exchange, or NFX streaming on Twitch, New Freedom Exchange on Facebook, YouTube. I am your host, or one of your co-hosts, rather, Imam Bilal Hassan, and I'm with the one and only.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Marsha. How are you all? Love to see you. Glad you came to check us out. We have a great conversation for you today. I'm super excited.
Oh yeah, we have a very special segment that we're kicking off, or we're debuting on a inaugural episode of the New Freedom Exchange presents Community Conversations with our brother Imam Rashad Abdul Rahmaan from the Atlanta Masjid of Al-Islam. Who'll be here. She's here with us already. He'll be pulling him into the queue just shortly. But we're excited for this conversation. It'll be happening every other Sunday going forward at the same time, 7:00 p.m. You can expect it here on these platforms. As we continue to grow and build, we ask you all to subscribe to our YouTube channel, press the like button on the page, and also follow us on Twitch as well. How are you, Miss Sister Marsha?
I'm doing pretty well. Today was kind of a catch up, get your house in order kind of day. So I started off with like the laundromat at like 7:30 this morning. So yeah, I'm a little worn out right now, but I'm sure that this conversation will get me back in the swing of things. I also had to run around and drop off some materials for my students. So for those of you who don't know, I run a nonprofit where we train majority women. Sometimes we have men in the class. We train them to work in child care centers, and so they train for a credential that's called the CDA, or the Child Development Associate credential. And I had to make sure that my students got their books because there was a back order. So I'm sort of running around once the books came in to get them to my people. So I'm here. Alhamdulillah. This weekend was pretty good. How about for you?
This weekend is homecoming weekend. You know we're in
It
homecoming season, Sister
is.
Marsha.
It is.
This
It
is
is. But it
homecoming
feels so
season.
different
Feels so
because,
different.
yeah, it just feels so different. So a lot of my classmates have been posting like happy homecoming, how we're vicing and all of that. And I'm just like, it's not the same. Like you want to
It's
be
not
on
the
the
same.
yard. It's just not the same. And it's funny because this year I actually haven't been to homecoming since I graduated. I know that sounds bad. I suck. I know all of that stuff. But I was planning that this year I'm going to homecoming. Like it doesn't matter. I'm going to homecoming. I will be there, and then Corona. So
Yeah, right. Right.
so maybe next year.
Maybe
But
inshallah next year.
shout out to my Howard Bisons. Happy homecoming.
Yeah, shout out to Howard Bison. Shout out to Link
Yes.
University, the Lions. This would be our weekend. This would be our weekend for our homecoming was scheduled for this weekend. So
Yeah, I think ours was too though, because I saw so many people posting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yours is probably too. So like it was supposed to be a dynamic weekend for both of our alma maters and probably a few others. Obviously, others spread out throughout this month of October, even some. Sister.
Oh, Sister Valita said Grambling homecoming too. Yes.
Absolutely.
Everybody posting pictures with their t-shirts on. That's as much as we gonna get.
Well, I got my t-shirt on. You know, I came to rap.
I ain't representing today.
No. This is how I feel, man. This is how I wake up. You know what I'm saying? You know, this is the weekend. You know what I'm saying? We want to keep the homecoming spirit. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing like a homecoming on the yard, obviously. Nothing like it.
Shout out to all the HBCUs.
Right. So hopefully we'll be reunited, you know what I'm saying, after COVID, next fall, you know what I'm saying, and this virus calms down. So we did have some virtual events. I don't know about Howard, but we know a lot of our
there were some.
You know, the party and a Zoom party, believe it or not. I mean, that was cool. You know what I'm saying? But we should give. Before we bring on Imam Rashad, I just want to plug this in. If you are a graduate of Historic Black College, or if you're not a graduate of Historic Black College University, I would strongly encourage you all to definitely give your coins, whatever dollars you have, to our beloved institutions, our HBCUs, you know, and support us during this time, because we're getting hit hard too, just like everybody else. And now we are joined by our other co-host, our beloved in the studio. But
hey, how you doing? Good afternoon, good evening, good night.
All those.
You're on time, beloved, because you know we do.
I'm always on time. Cut it out, man.
Well, you're on time, so we're gonna do your check-in, and then we're gonna bring on our beloved, man.
Oh yeah, check-in is good. Just popped it on the screen. I'm trying to get my laptop up, but you know how that goes.
Did they kick you out? Because you look like you outside, my brother. Did they put you out?
No comment.
Okay, all right. So how was your day? How was your Sunday going, brother? How was your Sunday going, man?
Oh yeah, still going, still rolling.
Still rolling.
You know, one thing I did want to share. I think that's why I'm really outside. I was doing checking out the new moon.
Oh,
you know,
okay. You was moonsighting.
It is a.
Well, it is the start of a new month. Are we not?
Yeah, well, not just any month. It's the special month because it's the month that there's reported that the prophet was born.
Yes.
Bilal. So maybe Imam, when he comes on, he could address the birth and a brief history of the prophet. Because as we want to have these community conversations, we want to familiarize, or at least introduce or reintroduce to some and introduce to others, you know, our faith. As we mentioned several times on our show, we have different guests that come on, Muslim and other, and we hear different terminologies, different concepts and ideas. And so we want to get some clarification. So this conversation is going to be a clarification conversation as well. You know, that was funny. Yeah, that was funny.
Like, we're moonsighting now. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's bring on our beloved Imam. Let's bring on our special, who's going to be our special guest host for this duration of the coming times with us. No longer. This is going to be a special segment, my beloved. So you want to stay tuned, stay locked in. to New Freedom Exchange because the topics only going to get better and better. So tonight we have a special.
Hold on.
topic.
I got another. It's not a joke, but you know how you said guest. No, you said guest, right? And so I know when I used to go to my mother-in-law's house, she said you eat more than 3 times, you're not a guest. You got to wash the dishes. So just so we recognize it as a guest, but he's our brother. He's no stranger to the show. So no further ado.
Rashad, you wash your dishes.
Imam Rashad, you got dishes
bring him on.
Bring him on. So we go.
I don't know if I want to come on now. I got to do dishes. Let me go. How's everybody doing this evening?
Good.
Excellent. Welcome back.
How about yourself?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
How about yourself? You good? Family good?
Good. Yes, sir. I can't complain.
Excellent. So before we get into it, I know we wanted to read a little bit, define some terms. And the first term that we did want to define was community. What is a community? Because we're hosting this community conversation, and a lot of people may want to know. We want to put some context on what is community. So according to the Webster, as they say, the community is a noun. A group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. There's a second definition actually too. A feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. So here, I remember one time I think we did mention about this having a common interest. I know we talked about having strengthening our common bonds. I know that was a segment that we had on the show a few months ago for a week of programming, a few days of programming, and we do want to stress that this is a place of that we want to establish in those common interests, those common goals that people are yearning for. Some people, a lot of people are yearning for community. A lot of people are yearning for community life. So we want to just, establish that as part of our conversation going forward this evening. Imam Rashad, do you have something to add to that definition of community before we dive into the discussion at hand?
No, I think that the first one that you gave is not the one that really resonates. The other ones that you gave from an Islamic perspective, because our connection with one another is really in terms of the spirit. Our spiritual life is what unites us. So we call each other brother or sister. This is what it says in the Quran. This is the teaching of our prophet, praise and peace be upon him, that the believers they form a brotherhood, and that brotherhood is a spiritual bond. And as you all know, the term ummah connects to the term because it's the bigger mother. It's the bigger mother. Just like we are formed in our mother's physical bodies, and we are formed and shaped by the environment that is, in most instances, at least in the history of man on this earth, those environments were under the care of the mother as the first environment. And then we have contact with the world outside of our home, and that new environment becomes big mama or bigger mother. So and to live in a community, there has to be shared perceptions of things, shared sensitivities, etc., where we all can identify as a group. So that's what really bonds us together as one from the perspective of Islam.
So that bonding, who or what regulates that? Because as you mentioned, you gave the example of the natural womb, and it has its faculties, in the womb, by being at the birth of all my children, the amniotic sac and the umbilical cord, all those things. What is that, and how can we relate? What are those things in community? Like what correlates that in community life?
So for Muslims, it's the actual religious teaching. So you have 2 words for womb, just to connect it to mother. You have arham in the Quran, which is a plural of rihm, which is a womb. And then you have batn, which it means it's like the area that's secluded or out of vision. And these really speak to two aspects of the community in terms of how the community as mother, but the two ways that the community as mother shapes the members. And that's what really brings about our bonding. So Barton has reference to the environment as it influences our intellect. It influences our mind. So, I mean, simply put, Islamic education is really what makes us united as a community. That's step number one. Step number two is riham. Allah says in the Quran that you will see the believers, and this is also a tradition of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, regarding the believers in their mercy between one another. And he said the mercy and love that they express between one another, it's as if they are one body. And Allah says in another part of the Quran, he uses the root word for mercy to explain the relation. So that's how we care for one another, our concern for one another, just our basic social behavior. So we have Islamic education, and then we have Islamic behavior born out of that education. And these two things create the environment that produces Muslim life. We have to think like Muslims. We have to behave like Muslims. In other words, what I mean by behavior, the ethic of Islamic life. You know, there's a way that, for instance, we handle conflict. Like we're talking about today, there's a way that we get married. There's a certain way we approach it. And then there is a logic behind it. There's an education supporting whatever we do. So those two things produce the quote unquote Muslim.
So can we say, before we go on, can we say that I guess the differences of the Muslim behavior throughout the world, is it because they have different mothers or different wombs or different perspective of the Islamic knowledge or education?
I think the behavior today is probably because it's a new daddy. So the Prophet, he said that what the father can give to the child is good behavior in education, good behavior and upbringing. And I think that what we see in many places in the Islamic world is the absence of the Prophet's presence in the thinking and behavior. So I say it as a joke, but I'm serious too. You know, and this has happened. So understand when I want to say the colonizers, the Europeans, I watched Black Panther the other day. That's why I've colonized.
Like Black Panther?
When the Europeans came and colonized the Muslim lands, one of the first things and one of the most impactful things they did was to rid the influence of Islamic education in their institutions, in the traditional influence that it had over the Muslim life. So really, this is like, I mean, imagine now, this is like a stepdad, but this is like a mean dad. You know, this is a stepdad who doesn't love the children and doesn't really love the mother. He just wants the mother for maybe she gets a good welfare check or something. So that's what we really see. And now, just like you have an abusive father who will come into a home, not care for the mother, mistreat the children, then they break up. Well, you have that family left with that trauma, like as an aftershock. That's what you have in the Islamic world. The Europeans came, did their damage, they left, and they're still in some places. So what you have in the Muslim world today is the damage left over. And, you know, to carry the analogy even further, it hurts families even more when that process happens, but those children have faint memories of their biological father. So the Muslims, they know the Prophet to some degree. They understand that they're Muslims, but they're affected by what has happened. So they don't have the connection. They don't have the connection that's really needed for them to be healthy from a psychological, or how we would say a spiritual perspective.
Excellent.
Yeah, I never even heard it explained that way. So I'm sitting here a little bit in awe, and it's just like, alhamdulillah for that explanation, because that was a good one that I feel like, you know, a common person can relate to the analogies that you just used to describe
Alhamdulillah.
what happened.
Alhamdulillah.
Right. So we can transition now. I think that's a good segue and transition into tonight's community conversation with that beautiful definition of what community is. Community is, and the edification that we just gave, the clarification. Through that edification that we just gave. So people now should have a good understanding of what community is through that explanation. So tonight's conversation topic is Zawj/Zawjah, half, one of a pair. Now, for starters, for beginners, we want to, as we just did, we gave edification. We gave edification on what community is. Can we give edification on what those two terms are for those who are not familiar with those two terms?
Zawj and Zawjah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Bismillah. I'm sorry, I didn't even hold up. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So I thank you all for this opportunity. Inshallah, as I understand it, we're going to be meeting often, or periodically,
yes,
to have discussions. So our prayer is that we're able to continue and be of benefit to whoever could benefit from it. Whoever is interested could benefit from it. So yes, the term Zawj and Zawjah, it means to be a pair or a single, to be half of a pair. Zawj is the masculine form, Zawjah is the feminine form. Because in Arabic language, you have a masculine and feminine. There's no neuter gender in the language. So it's either masculine or feminine. So it's saying the same thing. It's saying either a couple, but more correctly, a half of a pair. So in the very nature of that term, it is saying that the male and the female belong together. Because if you tell me on my own I'm a half, then that means that I'm not complete. Therefore, the female completes the male. The male completes the female. And this is not an idea that is just what you would say native to Islam. I mean, it's in Jewish tradition, for example. They said that Adam in the beginning was androgynous, meaning that he was male and female in one, and then God split them apart. This is in their tradition. This is not in the Bible. Their language is more crude because their language, the Jews lived in these different societies where there was a lot of mythology. And just if you know mythology, the language is much more, it's raw, material language. So Al-Islam, its language is more philosophical and scientific, but the meanings remain the same for some of these things. So in our language, we have in the Quran, Allah speaks of the beginning of man from one soul, and he made from its nature, of like nature is made. So it's saying the same thing that they have in this narration. Because we understand the one soul to be Adam as well, just like they understand the original man to be Adam, but he was male and female. The original soul in every human soul is male and female. But how we come into the world determines what's expressed, and then our coming together as male and female. We complement one another. So not only are we half or not complete without one another, but once we come together, the male brings the best out of the female, and the female brings the best out of the male. So that's really that's the understanding in a basic way. Obviously, I'm sure you can see it has a lot of ramification or implication for our life in the real world. But that's the understanding of it.
So when someone says my better half, what in connection to what you just shared, are they referencing that, or they're referencing?
So. I think that the culture, because most cultures, like Islamic culture, for example, like kayfa halik. Like kayfa halik literally means how is your state or condition. That's a deeply that's a Islamic philosophical statement, but it's just in the common language now. And it's the same here in America. Like we say stuff, that's my soulmate. And your people, I don't believe in a soulmate and da-da-da, but soulmate is a real thing in scripture. I think the way it's given to us in the culture, you know, of course, the world will dress things up to make it more non-real than real, but it's the basis of that meaning or the basis of that language is very real. So yeah, my better half, again, soulmate, it's some other stuff. I can't think of it right now, but you all know what people say. Yeah, it's really real.
So what's the importance of that coming together, right? Because based on what you just explained to us, you know, we're, for lack of a better terminology, we're sort of missing another piece of ourselves. What's the importance of coming together?
Well, several things. That's a broad question because everything comes from that. So the importance, it starts from the very basis of our existence. You know, Allah, he says of himself, خَلَقَ فَسَوَّى سَبِّحِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ فَسَوَّى. Highly glorified is the name of your Lord who created, then he sawa, he balanced. So everything in creation, khalaqa is first. So creation, he created what? Everything. Khaliqu kulla shay. So he created everything. And he says, he's saying that that particle, fasawa, he's saying by virtue of it being a created thing, it has a relationship to another thing. And if you all know the term balance itself, I mean, balance literally means at least two things complementing or one not overpowering the other thing. And he says in another part of the Quran that he made everything as a duality or in pairs, and he alone, only he is one alone. So duality, complementarity, and then I think it's terity, and then what's further, interdependence. It's ingrained in the very nature of created existence. Everything that's created is by its very existence needs another thing. It needs the other part of itself. So we're not, so Allah says everything is male and female. It's not just the human being, everything. So, and this is, I mean, even like Imam Muhammad will point out to us how even now for them to be able to explain the behavior of atoms, they have to say one has a positive charge, one has a negative charge. And this causes the structure of it to remain. Even the sun, for example, they say in the core, you have these reactions that push the sun outward, and then you have the gravitational pull that sucks it inward, and that's how the sun remains as a body instead of it. When that gravitational pull is no longer there, that's when you have a supernova. Everything explodes, for example. Or when there's no more explosion and the gravitational pull remains, you have a black hole. It collapses on itself. So these are two extremes. So everything in the universe has this duality. So for us as human beings, we can't run away from needing another person at a basic psychological level, and then also at a biological level. But let's keep it in a basic sense. Allah says, "He who created khalaqa fasawa qaddara," the process of growth. They'll translate it as decree. But to say decree, that's true. It's not wrong. But the decree, God decrees. So we don't understand the decree because we don't know what will come about until it comes about. So for want of a better way of putting it, from God's perspective, it's his decree. For want of a better way of putting it. From our perspective, it's the process of growth. And what that means then is that really growth in creation doesn't come about until you have pairing. So for us at a physical level, until male and female come together physically, you cannot have another human being come into existence. Until the man comes into contact with a mate and the female comes in contact with her mate, their development as human beings, because you all know, you all who are parents, you know that there are aspects of you that have evolved and developed just by virtue of you having a mate and by virtue of you having children from that mate. New dimensions of love, new dimensions of patience, understanding. You have literally grown. So that's at a psychological or spiritual level, let alone the community level. Because as Allah says in the Quran, for example, the man, he is given the responsibility for the maintenance, the food, the clothing, and the maintenance of the mother and child. Therefore, the responsibility to manage family causes for him to have to develop and grow in his muscles, physical, let alone intellectual, to become a provider. So there's a verse in the Quran that says that family is first in the book of God. And it means that everything that we kind of recognize as human achievement, it traces back to male and female coming together and having to address the need of family. So this is really just the profound nature of our existing as a duality. It is the very cause of all. It is the means by which we grow. So when Allah created, like he said, he's the only one that is one alone in the absolute sense. Therefore, he doesn't need anything, because he is eternal with no beginning, everlasting with no end. He doesn't undergo change. Nothing affects him, etc. But we undergo change. We live and die. We develop. And all of that is necessarily implied by or connected to the fact that we exist in pairs. So everything that we have that we call our life in all of its dynamics is the result of the fact that we exist as two, male and female. So that's a real broad question. It covers everything. Without male and female being together, there would be nothing on this earth but animal life. Really, even when we look at animals and plants, it's male and female coming together, you know.
We have a question that came in. Do we want to bring the question up? Let's bring the question up. Question from one of the viewers, since we're on the topic. Assalamu alaikum, my man, Brother Sultan from Howard University.
Yes.
If soulmates is true, that's right. If soulmates is true because of our existence is in duality, how do we identify or know who's our soulmate if there's many to choose from?
Okay.
So that's what I meant.
Dive right in.
So that's what I meant. That's what I meant about it's not like the fairy tale way. We believe in it, but how we understand is a little bit different. So we don't know. It's two ways to look at it. For instance, like Allah, his knowledge, again, Allah knows everything. His knowledge is eternal with no beginning. So Allah knows, and Allah has willed who our mates would be. That's one way to see it. So we don't know. So I'm not talking about, you see this girl, you just glide across the that may actually happen. But that's
float. You might float. You might float.
Yeah, you float. Yeah, I'm not saying it like that. I just and we know, I mean, I'm sure you all I've had the experience. I've been attracted to a woman very strongly, and it wasn't mutual. So, that's just life, everybody has that. So or the other way to understand it is that, and this is also something you can see scientifically, like when you have two objects that, like two pieces of metal that stay on top of each other for a long time, the atoms actually interchange. And it's like that with a person. You're around a person for so much, like the prophet said, a man, he has the religion of his friend. So you can be with a woman for so long that you all become more and more alike as you all are just existing and experiencing life together. So you can see it from those two angles. There's no way to know well, I can't say it like that. I'm saying there's no formula, but a lot of us do know. But there's no formula in place, from that type of angle. And a lot of people, a lot of guys. Well, never mind. I don't want to go on that angle. I think.
No, what's the angle? What was the what was the angle? I mean, what was you about to say?
I forgot.
Oh, you forgot.
Good one. Well, no, because I was going to say, so that's the implication that who you with might not be your soulmate. So it's not always the marriage, as you mentioned, like the pairs is not just in marriage.
Well,
it could be of like interest or like vision.
That's true. So that's the higher meaning of Zawj. So this is why Allah said He brought your mate out of your soul. Most people who do great things in the world, it's because of their responding to a need in their soul. So I hate to use it, but I hate to use a secular example, but you take like the founder of Amazon. This was his plan years ago. So the manifestation of the plan, it really is a manifestation of what was in his soul. And I guarantee you, he engages Amazon more than he engages his wife. It's just natural. That's the nature of most men. When they found their love and their devotion that they in something that they produce, and that's their first love. And they wouldn't get rid of their wife, but I guarantee you they give more attention to that than their wives. And I think most natural women understand it too. That's just the nature of men. So that's a high understanding. I do think that there are actual people though who you want to be with. And I recommend, like for young people getting married, especially, it's a little different for older people. But I do recommend for younger people, find that person that really, for want of a better expression, turns you on. It has to be more than physical. I'm not talking about just physical is important too, but that's not what I'm restricting it to. I'm saying the person that really draws you and holds you. That's the one I would recommend going for that one. Because, we do a lot of stuff in our community. Like that sister has good taqwa. Go ahead and marry her. And I don't think everyone's at that level. And I don't think it's realistic to, what I mean?
Well,
I was gonna say before you go there, but I was gonna say it's not a joke. But when you said the Jeff Bezos thing, and you said he gives more attention to his work than his wife, I think they just recently divorced, and I think she got about like 57 billion. But that's in a larger. That's like in a. I mean, we see that on TV and we see that in real life. But what is it that in our common situation? How do we balance that, right? Because you could overexert yourself in something that you love, where you do become negligent to your spouse, to your family.
Yeah, you can. Well, I think it's on a case-by-case basis. I mean, it depends on what your devotion is to. I know he divorced that lady. I think he has another one. I think that's why he got divorced, because that new lady. That's what I'm saying.
I didn't mean to go.
Don't touch it. Don't touch it.
But I think for a man, I think every man should have some type of devotion. If it's his business, if it's his education, it's something that he has to be, that he should be devoted to. As a matter of fact, every human being, I mean, but men in the history of the world, their devotion draws them out from the home. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're asking, how do we protect ourselves from going to the extreme of being just immersed in that devotion, as opposed to the extent that we neglect the other rights and responsibilities that we have. That's just a challenge of life. If your wife may tell you, and you just, you have to ask Allah to guide you. Simple stuff like that. It's nothing profound, because that's really I remember Imam Muhammad even saying, like, he understood why he was having problems with his marriages, because he said, look, he's leading a community. He doesn't have time to come home and hear about someone's bad day at work or what somebody said to them. Now that's like a real thing. So I don't have the answer.
Well, because in connection to that, I mean, some people actually associate that with the reason why men have multiple wives, the reason why they have, I even heard the term a traveling wife, when they go to another country, all this had gotten into Islam from different, so.
Yeah, I don't understand. If you're that busy, I'm not really sure how another wife could fix that. That's gonna make you even more. But I don't know. Maybe these guys, they find women from places. I like to know where they get them from, because the women I know, they'll keep you occupied. You say, damn, I need to be by myself.
Imam, this is also in the culture now, this language, and I think I posed this question to you before in our class, but I think it was good to expound upon on this public platform here a little bit about this term that divine masculinity and divine femininity, as it relates to these God-given characteristics. Some saying that a man or and a woman should have or should possess, is so inundated in the culture, and we know what the term divine means. Anything, basic definition from the Webster Dictionary. I mean, it is equivalent to basically saying that you are a god. Saying, or of God. Say. So is this? What is your take on this language? I mean, the characteristics that they list are very good characteristics, but I'm not too fond. I'm not too fond of the language that is used to describe those characteristics that they're saying.
So that's point number one. The Satan he whispers into the hearts, and if you see how he moves in the Quran, he actually offers Adam something that was really similar to what Adam was already created to have. So we have to be very careful about language from the environment that appeals to us. It appeals to our good senses. We have to watch the packaging that it comes in. So as soon as you say anything divine as a description of a human, or anything that's other than Allah, if you say divine for anything as a description of anything other than Allah, it should. We reject it outright. And we know it's a setup. So we don't need those things as Muslims. We don't need those things. All we need is just to be Muslim. That's what we need. We need to know what Allah requires of us, calls us to do. I see a lot of sisters more than men, to be perfectly honest with you, doing that, like on social media. Muslim women, I want my sisters to know you're divine and powerful. They are more than likely innocent, but they definitely are being influenced by something other than that which we should be following. So I don't know. I haven't read anything that talked about divine masculine principles or nothing like that, but we don't need that. Let me ask you, do they offer anything that we don't have in our religion?
No.
So no, it's trash for the trash can, as far as I'm concerned. We the only way, it's like anything, germs can get you more readily because your immune system isn't built up. Our religion, it builds us up. It really builds us up. Our religion is not just, let's pray and hope we can go to heaven. Unfortunately, that's how it's taught. But it's not that. This religion is wisdom. There's nothing in the world that is higher than it for the intellect of man and for his guidance as an individual and for community. But if you don't know it in that sense, then you're open for these influences. And unfortunately, as we mentioned, the Islamic world in the beginning, Islamic education is really impoverished. And the average Muslim in America and abroad, they have an impoverished sense of their own reality because of how they have been educated. So it leaves us open to all of these influences. You all must have just cracked a joke. You all laughed at the same time.
No.
Question just
not for you, Imam Rashad.
No, I'm just saying, just in general. I didn't think it like that.
No, it's about to come up.
So that's the problem, and that's the problem. You know, as the scripture says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So as Muslims, we have to be very, very, very careful. And you know, they don't like it. I've said it here at the masjid here, about, you know, even because all of it goes together. There's a culture of calling yourself divine, this sort of I speak my dreams into reality.
Yeah, manifestation.
All of that stuff, I'm telling you, all of these things. See, the prophet said, what he has given us is enough. And Allah says he is kafatan lana, he's enough. And this Allah says he's completed his favor. None of those people can tell me that, hey, I've really just given myself 100% to the religion. And now I need to say these affirmations because there's something still missing. They can't, if they tell me that they're a liar, they're just a liar. They're just lying. You are a lying person. I don't know how to emphasize lying. You're lying. It's no way. So at the same time, we can't blame them. The religious institute, we're talking about religion now, but just because we're on the subject, the religious institutions, they're kind of lame. They're very lame. So people go for these. So you can't really blame the people. That's what I'm really getting at. You can't really blame them.
So then, if we're not blaming the people, what are we saying? Are we blaming the culture? You know what I'm saying? That the people are getting this.
We have a leadership deficit.
Or
void. We have a leadership void. And that is what. So remember, the strategy in scripture is to take away the leaders.
Correct.
To leave the people open for the influence. So there's a leadership void where the needs and concerns of people in the real world are not really met. Therefore, they find comfort in these things. But the problem is the one who gives them, pardon me, these things as a source of comfort is the same one who made sure the world has a leadership deficit. So but that's another subject.
Well, yeah. Well,
I don't want to get off the relationship.
No. You know, we right on it because we're about to pull up a comment. We're about to pull up a comment that kind of connects to, because to be honest, women look for leadership in the men. Women are looking for leadership, and I find that so much. See, just being in certain environments that there's this thirst for from women. Thirst not meaning that they're thirsty, not because of the culture they say they're thirsty. Like no, I'm not talking about that. But there's a hunger. No, I'm sorry. No. But there is a hunger. There is a hunger. Okay, there is a hunger for, you know, people want to see, the women want to see men in leadership. The women want to see men more confident. You know, some of the men who, you know, are about their business, who can take care of them, and etc. And you know, and you know, since they see there's a lack of that, or they're men coming across. I was having a conversation with the sister, and she was like, "Well, I'm standoffish. I could be perceived as standoffish because a lot of men approach me on a weirdo, creepy type of tip, like predatory type of tip. Like they see me, you know, and so they think of me as a piece of meat." Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So we if you all notice what's in, I mean, it's really on social media. I mean, everyone has be it Instagram or Facebook, mainly is where I see it. I mean, I'm not on anything else, but you know, ever since COVID, everybody has a show. And I kind of joke saying everybody shouldn't, but I kind of believe that though, you know, because there's a certain amount of responsibility that goes into speaking to numbers of people. And you don't want to address the masses of people with your focus in mind. But what I've noticed with a lot of African American women and African American Muslim women, there's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of hurt out there. And there are a lot of platforms being set up now, you know, to kind of offer an opportunity to share and exchange and also deal with the hurt. And they've been hurt by Black men. Black Muslim men. I mean, we, myself, and others who function as imams, we know. I mean, we have to do a lot of counseling and things of that nature. So we hear a lot of the stories and what really goes on. I mean, I can probably count on one hand if it was the sister who was the antagonist in whatever drama that was taking place. In most instances, it was the brother, you know, be it verbal abuse, be it getting another wife without telling the sister, some, you know, that Negro stuff, not refined Islamic behavior or basic human behavior. It was Negro stuff. And oftentimes they do it in the name of Islam. So what you have then, I mean, it's just different levels of abuse. Again, and a lot of times it's tolerated because of ignorance or low self-esteem. It's just, you know, it's just issues, compounded issues. So our women in a lot of ways are unprotected. I do believe that. I believe our women in a lot of ways are unprotected. Our men have been weakened though. And here's the key. Here's what I kind of caution against. You know, they had it a lot over social media with their Breonna Taylor ruling. You know, there was this big thing about protect black women, protect black women. I don't like those kind of things personally. I think anytime we isolate, because we're talking about Zawj and Zawjah, and anytime we isolate one member, that's the Satan again. Because there's implied in that is that the black woman is not protected by her man. Because who are you talking to when you say protect black women? That's true. It's true. But then we have to ask the question, why is that? The black man has been, you know, he has been destroyed in a lot of ways. That's the strategy given in scripture. Kill the sons, let the women live. And I don't think there's any sane person in America, or at least, you know, let alone on earth, who could look at the African-American condition and not see how the black man was singled out. And at the same time, that left our women open and exposed. So oftentimes, to make the case, you know, to give it in a simple, you know, long story short, oftentimes we don't realize who is the one who caused the problem in the first place. We're fighting each other. We're looking at each other. We're mad at each other. And we are really abusing each other. As men, we are abusing our women. And it's not just that way. I know a lot of good brothers. Believe me, I'm telling you what I actually know, who have been given hell by their women. And they've come in as stepfathers and stuff. And the woman can, you know, he say up, she say down. He say right, she say left. Because of whatever she had to deal with before. So we're playing bumper cars. And very, very rare do we look at the cause. However, the question becomes, what are we going to do about it? I personally believe that the onus is on the black man, the African-American male, because when you look at scripture and when you look at the responsibility given to the man in scripture, he is the leader. Even the beginning is with the name is Adam. The prophets were males. The role of the male in the household, etc. So the reality is, I mean, I'm trying to put it in nice terms because we're on a public platform, but this is one of them situations.
I mean, we can.
No, I'm not going to curse, but this is one of those situations.
No, you don't have to curse.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting to.
Come on, man.
I tell people they have to cut the crap. The average black man, cut the crap. Just stop what you do. Just stop it. There's a few good exceptions, but a lot of us, we have to just stop jacklegging. You know, be a man, be a real man, be serious. Yes, you know, I don't care. Okay, the white man is a devil. You know, Yaqub is real. All that's fine. Okay, let's get now. What are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's how we have to begin to think.
And until we begin to think that way, I'm not talking about the unconscious black men, the ones on the street. I'm talking about us, like in our community. We have a lot of just brothers who they're just not on their job. They're just not on their job. And I'm not saying that the women are good. Most of the women, you know, they need processing too. But I'm saying in order to fix the problem, I personally believe it's in the hands of the men first. They have to get on their job. And that's how we begin the process.
So given all that you just shared, and Bilal, I know you want to address the comment that we have in the queue, but I just want to ask this really quick. Given what you just shared, what does the preparation look like for the Zawj and the Zawjah coming together with all that you just shared? Like, what does that even look like?
Well, again, that's a good question. So don't follow the world. So I was talking to a sister, and I like her, but you know, I could tell, you know, she was very. I'm using this as an example. I don't have to talk about sex all the time, and I'm not like a monk. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, oh, I got 5 kids. I'm not a monk, but I don't. What I got to talk about? That's natural. That's going to happen. So. But I picked up something from her that I got from women when I was in high school. Like, they're just trained to think that's what we're supposed to be talking about. And I don't want to talk about that. I just don't want to mean all the time. So I'm saying that to say, don't follow the world. You sisters need to stop letting these men have sex with you. Stop. These brothers, I don't care what you all say, and he, you know, I want you to be my Zawjah, and you my bint, and we gonna wake up and eat dates and make fajr together. Stop having sex with these men. Just stop. And so when you're talking, and when a brother really wants to marry you, when a man, see, men go after what they want. That's a part of his nature as a man. And if he has to behave a certain way to get what he wants, and he really wants it, he doesn't mind. So let him meet your father. I don't care if your father's a Muslim or not. That's your father. Let him meet your brother. If you're comfortable, because if your father's not a Muslim and you still want him to be kind of looked at by someone who knows the religion, go to your imam, follow the rules. And I've done a lot of weddings, especially lately, and I've seen a lot of weddings lately. The marriages don't last. You know, they stay married for 4 minutes. You say, well, wait a minute. How?
Because are you just marrying for the carnal desire, for the physical desire? Is that could be a very well possible reason?
I think that's a part of it, and I think they marry with no logic as to how this thing is supposed to go. They marry with a mind, with the world of the mind. I've heard Muslims say there's no gender roles. I don't believe in it. I mean, it's no way. It's absolutely no way you've ever read the Quran and you come out with that type of thought process. It's just impossible. Unless you read it, you know, like unconsciously. You know, you can like watch a movie while you're really thinking about something else. I mean, that's possible, but there's no way you could have seriously read it. Or, I mean, it's literally there. So the preparation, I think that I would recommend for women to rely on, you know, their trusted males, trusted men in their life. I would suggest that men be circumspect, meaning that they should do things like, this is outside of knowing the religion, knowing what they want to do with their life. I mean, all of that stuff is like a part of just your growing up. They should meet the family. They should meet the mother. They should watch the sister. The prophet said that, you know, the prophet said that. Go see the mother. I just really think, just to be honest, and maybe I hope I'm not oversimplifying the situation, but based upon my experience, specifically in an office where I have to deal with a lot of people, I find that we're just not following the rules. Everyone wants to do it their own way, and then they keep failing You see what I'm saying? And then they say, well, how are we going to do it? How are we going to ever get it right? But you never did it the right way. So I really think it's a basic approach to fix our problem, a basic approach, which is following the rules.
So then there's a accountability factor, right? Because that's like you said, if people want to do it their own way or they use other examples for why they're doing it their way, where's the accountability? Where's the check and balance?
Unfortunately, we don't have it in place right now. So I think that's, again, going back to Ummah, that's where we as a collective body, and that goes back to sort of the leadership void that we have. There should be something in place, like in the days of the Nation of Islam. Whereas, I'm sorry, I keep hearing a noise. Whereas if things are not done correctly, someone or there are other community components that can come and correct the problem or help assist with correcting the problem. And that's necessary because what ends up happening is that these problems spill into the community anyway. So, but I think that what happened with the transition, Imam Muhammad left us open, and he left us with the responsibility to build up ourselves with our own hands. And I don't think that responsibility has really been taken up. I really don't. And obviously there's problems in other communities too. African-American Muslim communities. The responsibility hasn't been taken up for persons to really serve in the role of pillars for those communities. That's the only way to do it. Again, even how, I'm not saying you, Mujahideen, but even how we approach the questions and the problems, we approach them with a Western mind. Because in the Western world, everything is atomistic, everything is separate. But from an Islamic perspective, everything is interconnected. So there is no man and woman getting together outside of a community context. That's why they can divorce in 4 minutes. They don't even register, I belong to a bigger group. And the bond has relevance for the life of the group. So that's where we have failed. And that's why I say, just like I say, the men have to get it together, because as men, we have to repair or lead our families. You have to have leaders in communities. The man becomes, at least some of our men become community leaders. And when that's lacking, you don't have important things of importance and emphasis being established that are necessary to move forward. Islam in America, to me, they're actually trying to address it now. There's more discussion about it now. I still think there's some gaps, but there's an attempt as of late to address, the marriage problem, etc. I still think there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed, however. But we've been for some time now suffering from a leadership void.
Okay, so it's time to get another juicy question in here. And I want to be well, we gotta approach it. Continue with the edification that we've been doing so far, which has been very good.
Excuse me one second. I'm listening now.
No, yes. And this is connected to the cultural piece, Imam Rashad. Something saying in relations to the what's going on in the world, considering the music industry, because a lot of our young people and even older people are, we are fans of music, we're fans of the culture, we're fans of the entertainment industry. So there is, I'm prefacing this comment because it needs some prefacing before we bring it on the screen. I mean, I'll bring it on the screen anyway, but there needs some prefacing. Okay, this is Sister Valia, our beloved classmate. She says, Assalamu alaikum, brother Bilal. Can we pose the question that we were debating about, that supposed Islamic version of the WAP?
So
wait, hold on. Before you answer, Imam Rashad, I just have to preface it again. There is a version of this song that's on the internet. It's public. It's out there. I know the artist. And there's another version. Actually, there's two versions. Actually, it's quiet as kept. There's two versions of the song by several artists in our community, in the African American Muslim community, right? And this is no knock, this is no shade to either of the sisters, none of the sisters, but there needs some edification in reference to, should we Muslims, African American Muslims specifically, be remixing, as they say, rehashing,
yeah,
crazy stuff like this?
So, you know, so you all did say that you all have a spectrum of opinions on this show. So, that makes me a little bit more comfortable, and I'm assuming that your audience is aware of that fact, as well. I'm take a much more conservative approach to a lot of things. Look, so let me why? I mean, look, we are Muslim, man. We it's not like, you know, we are told in the Quran, the Satan said, I will come from before them, behind them, from the right and from the left. And you won't find any of them grateful. So this language tells us that the whole world, everything in it, has to be subjected to scrutiny before we accept it in our life. And that discipline, again, I think that's more of a discipline that people who are in a leadership role have to do. But somebody has to do it. So I don't mean to be condescending, but these things are almost like no-brainers. Like there was a group that did that. I forget who's the one who says, I mentioned this before on some program, the one that say she be rocking that hijab. Who sings that song?
That's I think Deen Squad.
And they make a lot of songs like that. Like they take whatever's popular and Islamize it. I think that's a horror, man. This is me personally. So this is no offense to anyone personally. I think that's just a bad thing to do. I think that's just, it doesn't, number one, to me, it's corny. It's just corny, number one. I mean, as a person of just with tastes, but again, I think that what that does is it misses something very critical. Music has a spirit. The beat, the actual tune, the actual melody, it conveys a spirit. So it's like if I tell my wife, sweetheart, you look beautiful. If I say, sweetheart, you look beautiful, it's I'm saying the same words, but how I said it carries a certain spirit. So you can't, sometimes it's disrespectful to Islam to put Islam in these cups, you know. So you know, I make you your favorite. What's your favorite drink, Sharif? If your favorite drink is whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Mango.
I don't Omar on the Nile in a toilet. I can clean, like Imam Sadiq said, you can clean the toilet bowl, clean the actual toilet out, fill it up with Omar on the Nile, then I give it to you. It's just something about, now, so that's just in general. When it comes to songs like WAP, come on, man. It's like these things are not even discussable in my mind. I would rather not have the discussion because it's something that if you are trying to convince me and I'm trying to convince you, there's just a break that I'm just convinced there's a gap that we won't be able to cross. I'll just rather not talk about it. Because what you do when you give that to your child falls in love with the rhythm, the cadence, and the spirit. That leaves them open then to accept that type of music, though you were trying to avoid it. You see what I'm saying? So, like the prophet said, in the latter days, women will walk around naked, though they'll have clothes on. Like some of these clothes, you might as well just be naked. So imagine now a sister having to say, well, I'm covered. It's like, no, that doesn't count. You're covered in the same way that skin covers you. This just doesn't count. So no, I'm sorry. I don't want to, I know I'm going roundabout. I just think that we should shun that. I think if Muslims really are sincere about affecting the culture, for the better, we have to become creative. We have to become creative, and we should accept the challenge to come up with our own music, our own genre. It could be poetic. It could be, I won't even say rap. It could be poetry. It can have musicianship, but it should be different. It should be totally new. We are not to follow the world. We are not to follow the world. We will not win that battle. I'm telling you, we won't win. We just won't.
So I have to confess, I'm having an old lady moment because I don't even know what video y'all talking about.
Oh man.
It's okay, sister.
I was like, maybe, you know, maybe,
it's okay.
Maybe this one ain't for the 40s. But
well, this is your well, you know we're not even you know the original song is Cardi B Megan Thee Stallion. Yes, nope. That's the original song we're talking about. We're talking about that original song being taken and remixed and put into, you know.
You can't do that.
Yeah, I don't even know what that original song is, but that's okay. I'm having a 40-year-old moment. It's okay.
It's all right.
So if I can ask the question, what did they say? Oh
man.
What did they say?
Who's they? Who's they?
Well, no, it was transferring to women are powerful, right? So as you're saying the perspective on the outside, as a non-artist, non-hip hop head, right? Inside is a discussion. Okay, I could battle the beat, or I could do the beat better. So it's a battle of words. So, but you're saying also it's not just the beat, or it's not just the words. Rather, it's also the beat and the cadence and all. It's circumspectal. It's not just.
But the point that I'm making is that again, the beat itself. The actual beat words make people, and a word is anything that sends a message to your mind. So the beat, like if you go to a club, you're not listening to the words per se. You're listening to the beat. It's the beat that gets you. It's the rhythm. It's the movement. It's the feel of it. It's aggressive or it's loose. It's something about it. That's why when you turn on classical music, there's a certain feel. When you turn on jazz, it's a certain feel. And in those two genres, unless it's opera or some jazz too, there's no words. It's a feel. So hip hop, and look, we're going off the subject, but rap music is a problem. Rap music is a problem. And we have to stop. To me, this is moral weakness. This is moral, moral weakness to say, oh, now if you listen to it, you're not a devil, but you should, when you come into the public, you have to at least admit this is a problematic art form.
I agree.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I agree. It's a problematic art form, and it has been hijacked. So I'm saying it's partially has been hijacked. So I'm saying, and I don't want to, of course, I listen to hip hop. So I'm saying, I'm sure quite a few of the people listening are as well. So I don't want to go too deep into it, and that's a whole nother conversation, a whole nother community conversation we can have. So I'm saying, but what I will say about that, because it does connect to the topic that we're talking about as far as Zawj and Zawjah. So I'm saying, in reference to, again, this personification of women and how women are to be perceived. So I'm saying, in society, how it's been warped. So I'm saying, so believe it or not, Muslim men listen to the WAP. Muslim women have listened to the WAP. So I'm saying, and they are hung up in the fact that that's how they have perceived even the sisters in our own community.
Correct. So see, look, man, this is and this is a bigger conversation. I think that this really, African Americans, if we're really going to move forward, we have some tough discussions and tough decisions to make. Nothing that's worth gaining can be achieved without struggle. And we have to just admit that a lot of things that we have allowed to creep into and influence our spirit, we've allowed it to creep into affect our spirit. It's poisonous. It's poisonous. It's now, rapping as just rapping in the most abstract sense, just expressing yourself poetically. Nothing's wrong with that. As a matter of fact, we know that that type of mode of expression is all throughout Islamic history. You've had scholars who've written books of theology in language, or like grammar books in rhyme form. And there are a lot of talented, who I believe are very blessed artists who have that poetic gift. That's one thing. But hip hop culture is perhaps the single most destructive influence on the spirit of Black America in the past 20, 30 years. No, I'm sorry, maybe 40 years now. It's extremely destructive to the spirit of Black America. It has destroyed our perception, our men's perception of themselves. It has destroyed our men's perception of our women. And then with these WAP people and like the city girls, it's flipped now. Listen to it, man. It's like, sit on his head, take his money. And the men are saying, don't trust her, don't give her your money. It's extremely destructive. It's no way, why would you, sometimes you have to say, look, let me put this down. I'm not going to try to purify this. I'm going to just put this down and go do this. Like you can't certain things you can't purify. There's no way to purify drill music or trap. You just can't do it. The entire feel of it represents something that is just absolutely destructive to the Black people. And it's a moral thing. And it's, again, I go back to leadership. We are in an age of moral weakness. And, I'm not trying to make this a platform to start a war, but I don't care who doesn't like it. I tell them to their face, if you don't agree, if you don't like what I'm saying, you can't disprove. You can't show me what is the number one thing influence. Let me ask you this. What is the number one influence over our young people today?
The culture.
The culture.
Is it okay? It's the culture.
But like you're saying, there's elements. I see people in the comments talking about certain time periods of the culture of hip hop.
1980s,
right.
That's a long time ago.
Right.
I was born in 82. That doesn't exist anymore. That does not exist. So that whole
underground.
It was righteous, Public Enemy. Then they came and took it. That's not even all the way true. Because I heard KRS-One talking about shooting police, and I got a gun. What do you say?
The sound of the police.
Come on, man. Just stop. Let's just tell the truth. And when you talking about, I said a hip, a hop, a hip, that was like, none of us were born. Maybe one of, we weren't even around when it was a hip, hippity, hop, you don't stop. That's a long time ago. We have to just realize, hey, man, these devils have gotten into something of ours, and it's totally rotten from the inside out. Let's make something new. Why is that such a bad thing? We made jazz, we made blues, we made rap. Why we can't come up with something new?
So I'm gonna take us back to our Zawjah.
Yes, next show is on hip hop.
Next show we might.
We got the wheel.
Yes, the next show could be on hip hop.
No, but then we got to spin the wheel though. We got to spin the wheel.
One more of our Zawjah in there. Oh, you want to spin the wheel?
No, we're not gonna spin the wheel now. We're gonna spin the wheel after. After we close out, we're gonna spin the wheel.
Oh, okay. So I'll just sneak this last one in there. And so when we were talking about community, the definition was about, or when I think Imam Rashad, when you sort of extended it for us, you talked about common attitudes, intentions, and goals, or maybe that was a part of the definition. I don't remember. And so I just want you to address how those common attitudes, intentions, and goals come into the Zawj and the Zawjah coming together, and then going back to what we talked to about preparation. I guess not ignoring when certain things are not meeting up.
So first of all, thank you so much, Marsha, for saving us from the brink of the. Thank you. That's thank you. Okay, so that's a very good point. From one perspective, you can say it's on a case-by-case basis, but I think there's a more general issue that applies to everyone. I think when a when a man and a woman decide to get married, they have to really know what each other are really about. So I've seen this as well. You know, he wants children, she doesn't. Or she doesn't want them right now. He wants them right away. He believes the wife should cook. She doesn't believe in cooking. I mean, these are basic things, but they end up being a problem. It's just going to come out. Those things do come out. So I do believe that that discussion has to be had. Those types of discussions have to be had. But also, in terms of the general picture, the sister should be assured that the brother is going somewhere. And she has to be aware of what is required of her. Now, this gets a little touchy, but I think this is good. This is a good conversation that we don't have. So you take, for example, a brother who's going to go out and just go hard in business. He wants to go after millions. That's going to require a lot of things in terms of sacrifice. More than likely, he's not going to be home as much as the average brother who just goes, does his 9 to 5 and come home. There's going to be a lot of sacrifices because he's going to have to do some investments. So there's going to be some times where things are very tight. And that just navigating those waters, that's something that has to be known, at least mentioned or discussed or understood. And that's why it's always good to seek counsel from others who you know have been in that situation. Also, there's a such thing as, I've seen this actually happen. Men, it's very easy for men to get caught up in the world. And I actually think that I think that more women, now you all may not like this, but I'm going to say it. I think more women should see it as a duty to keep themselves in a certain form for their husband's well-being. Men are very visual, and the world is full of temptation. And the men, they won't, I don't know, sometimes they say it to their wives, but sometimes they don't. They hold it in and they share it with their friends, their male friends. A lot of men run into a problem where they're no longer attracted to their wives. And their wives, you know, they'll gain weight, they won't do their hair, they won't paint their nails, whatever it may be. And that's a burden to a man who goes out and he got all of these women that are just, you know, extremely beautiful. That's a real thing. So I think that type of education on the part of women to other women, it has to be had. You know, there's a science of beautifying yourself for a male. It has an effect on the male's mind in a way that it may not have. Women don't want their men all ashy and nappy head and stuff like that, but I think it's a little bit different in terms of how it affects the man. It really stabilizes him. Sex is very important. You know, it stabilizes, it keeps him grounded and balanced. So these types of conversations, again, this goes back to community. I think that community should see that they have a vested interest in preparing people to be married. So when it comes to these things, like I just know, I'm gonna say something that's real controversial. I think it's controversial, but I think I've noticed the trend with Black women. They tend to cut their hair, and I don't really see any other race do that. And I'm wondering where that comes from. But somewhere along the line, I just keep seeing African-American women, they cut their hair. Now, the Bible says a woman's hair is her beauty. And in Islam, the women have to cover their hair because it's acknowledged of the attractive power of the hair of the female. And if you look at how women are portrayed in the environment, in the world, how they have this long flowing hair, and even the the industry of just selling weave, hair is very important to a male. But there's this trend amongst African-American women where they cut their hair, and a lot of them cut it to the point where it's like men. I wouldn't again, I feel uncomfortable addressing it, but I will because we're on the show. But I think these are real conversations that our wise women should have with our girls when they get married. A lot of men don't like that. They've told me this. And they'll lie to their wife like, yeah, it's okay. And I hear a lot of, the women will say, I don't like doing it. It's too much trouble. It's da-da-da, it's da-da-da. But you have to really register something that may seem so simple and trivial. It has a profound effect on your man's psyche. Here he is in a world where the women of the street got long weave. Everybody in the environment got long flowing hair, white women, Mexican women, Asian women. And he comes home and his woman's hair is like his or close to it. That's a problem. And that's compounded with, he's in the world and all of these women are on him and he's not really attracted to his wife. And that's compounded with the fact that perhaps he doesn't have any real guidance on how to move his life forward. So I think that we have to have things set up. And I'd be willing to work with anyone. This has been something that's been on my mind for a long time because we really have to reinstitute a lot of things that I think we had before. Our leaders like Marcus Garvey, of course, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they understood that African Americans are so separated. We have been so separated from traditions and natural institutions that hold us in place that they had to make up, MGT and things like that to really give us tools. I think that that's still necessary. I really think that's still necessary. I really think that women don't understand men, and I really think that men don't understand women. And I think that is what accounts for the burden. Even couples that are married, I don't really run into a lot of happily, like you can tell, like now they are really into each other. They're married, they're friends, but you don't get that spark from a lot of even happy, married couples. I just don't see it. And I think it's the way we've been doing things. We're not being real. We don't want to step on each other's feet or toes. And we don't want to have real conversations. I think there's a book. Well, we could probably get to that. I'll just stop there.
I was just going to add real quick. Is there a double standard though? Like as you mentioned, because that's what we hear also from the sisters. Like how that's a real scenario, right? But then there's like sisters have a whole plethora of issues, and we don't balance it.
Well, what? Like, give me an example.
So in the reference to like what? So you gave something in reference to what the man needs to stabilize him. And what we need to work on. And you also mentioned, I guess, in the previous discussion, earlier in the show, around men need to just stop playing around and do what we got to do. But can you give us an example of, giving the men instruction, what the woman needs for her to be stable? You know how we say security, provide. You mentioned it, but just to itemize it. Yeah.
I mean, so so you're talking about like with the hair and the weight and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, that's what the brothers issue with the sister. But then there's some issues with the sisters with the brothers, and then the brothers, like we never really directly, because for instance, I say this one time, like but I was talking about earlier, a sister put out a post a reference to a dowry, right? And whatever her requirement was, the brother didn't even give half, and he's expecting to get a full, the whole thing with a third of what she requires. And like, so what is our advice to the brothers to step up also in relation to that?
Right. So from my experience, so number one, you should respond to whatever your wife wants.
But this is even before marriage. Like brothers, like this is a big debate. I mean, of course we all know about the debates online, but
So again, so it's they're different discussions. So what I was talking about in terms of those comments about the hair and stuff, I'm having in mind what will help sustain a marriage. I think what you're asking, particularly with the dowry, is just in general men responding to women in the same way. And I think that they can become two different things. So me personally, I believe that well, again, case by case, if the woman says, look, I want a house, and he can give her a house, he should get her a house. If she says, I want a house, and he can get her a bus token. Do they still use bus tokens? He shouldn't. It's a mute point. Like, I would have to question her, why you even want this brother? He can only give you bus tokens or bus pass or whatever they have. So you know what I'm saying? That's kind of something you have to. But I think in general, when I hear about what the sisters want from them, it often has to do with security, not just financial, but like emotional. So a lot of them I will hear them talk about, or not just emotional is probably not the best way to put it. It's a part of it, but it has to do with the man's presence in the home, for example. Like, I've heard some of them say, why don't you just take the children and I go have my such and such day, or I'll be with my girls also. So I think that when it comes to those types of things, whatever the woman needs to make her feel stable as well, definitely and absolutely. I mean, I think the men should be readily responsive to that, to whatever the wife needs. I mentioned the hair and the weight because that's a trend that I see, and I mentioned the weight because that's a cliche thing. But I do think every couple has something that's particular to them, or they may more than likely. You know, that's what I mean when I say case by case. If the woman would ask her husband, "What do you need from me?" and he asks her, "What do you need from me?" I think both of them should be willing to, as long as it's rational and healthy, they should be willing to give the other what that one needs.
Right. We have to do a part 2 on that because that's where I think the stickiness is at.
Well,
you know,
that's one of the
give me an example.
areas.
Maybe I'm not just understanding.
Well, no, because like you just related that, you really don't see a lot of, like happy-go-lucky wives or husbands or family or mates that people are looking to get married to fulfill an expectation, right? So the expectations have been lowered because of the failed marriages or all the influences in the environment, right?
Yeah.
And then some of it is because of someone's, perception or misperception of what my value is as a mate, right? And so, like you said, some people put astronomical, like even they rap about it, they joke about it. A sister won 50,000 for the dowry, but like, okay, what are you offering? And people still struggle with these things. Like they make these things like real issues when, like you said, really it's just common. Well, because like you said, we do have a board of leadership. We don't have a model community where there are respectable standards and we have expectations of each other and those necessary things. So we're doing everything on our own and in isolated silos.
Yeah, and I think I see it because I remember I saw there was a thread going around about the sisters don't like this new trend of the brothers asking them, what do they bring to the table? Now, as a brother, when I heard brothers say that, I just took it a certain way. And the sisters was like, and I asked my wife, like, do you feel this way? She agreed with the sisters, like, yeah, it should be evident what I bring to the table. I'm telling you, man, some hard discussions need to be had. I'm gonna tell you, a lot of brothers will be like, it's not evident. I don't see it. I'm telling you, they're gonna say that. Right. So, and then the natural reaction is to say, well, if you don't see it, then because we live in this very much, if you don't affirm me, then let's part ways. That's a very modern, secular, me generation type thing. It's that self-esteem movement and influence in the social sciences that has really permeated the culture, where everything is like, if it doesn't affirm you and make you feel good, it's not for you. And that's not really the way of community, But I do think in general, to the sister's point, if I understand them correctly, if you're talking to a woman already, you should already know what she, what I mean, quote unquote, brings to the table. So to be honest with you, man, I tell you, I go back to this again. It's the religion. I really believe that, and I'm gonna. I don't know how much time we have, but I really believe that. Well, let me. You got a couple more. Let me. I really believe that Al-Islam in America was making good headway in the Nation of Islam. And I think that under the leadership of Imam Muhammad, it was continuing. I really believe that all of these other influences that have come have really hurt us more than we realize. Because the unique thing, and I'm not saying this just as a, you know, I'm trying to be objective. I think that the unique thing about leaders such as Imam Muhammad, his father, they were leaders of community. So again, to keep this emphasis on community. So Imam Muhammad, he wouldn't just get up there and talk about fiqh and Aqidah. Anybody could do that. That is just not, I can't emphasize like not, like I just want to scream it. That's not going to help black people. Black people have fundamental human like nobody cares about, you know, if the Quran was created or not, or the Khawarij or the Mu'tazila. These people are not even human yet. So those conversations are not even, you have to understand, we were stripped from just basic human function. So those conversations are just not important. Like right now, you see it on your thread. Oh, it's the prophets, it's Rabiul Awwal, you mentioned it. And every year there's this discussion about the Mawlid, I just literally believe if the prophet were here to assess our condition, nobody we don't have to use the prophet. Nobody that's rational would say, well, if those blacks would just start celebrating Mawlid, everything will be okay. That's just not on the top of our concerns. However, listen to the black imams. They have just imported issues. And I think that that's a part of what I mean about the leadership deficit. These are not our issues. Our issues are the buildup of our family, the manipulate of our life in community. From the time we've been here, we've been manipulated. Obviously, economic strain, which is born out of morality and family life. Those fundamentals, and those things are no longer being addressed. They're no longer being addressed by African American Muslim leadership. They're no longer really being addressed by a great majority of African American leadership. And this is where our problem lies. So behind that, we have all of this other stuff. Do you think if everyone wants to point to Malcolm, do you think if Malcolm was alive, he would just have all of this music in hip hop culture and not say anything about it? Think about it, man. We have Ice Cube representing us now. Ice Cube, man, that's the best we can come up with to represent the black cause. And Malcolm, he spoke against that. He said back in the day, he said they always bring in entertainers. Lena Horne back in the day and all of that to address our concerns. These are not leaders. These are entertainers. And that still remains our plight. So I think that when it comes to family, community, etc., business, this leadership void that we have in the African American community, it is the product of killing the sons and letting the women live. And until we address that, we really won't be able to really get to the root of our problems. I really don't believe we will be able to. I mean, I would love to be proven wrong, but I do see that for us as Muslims, I think that is the crux of the issue in terms of when you have a leader like, again, Imam Muhammad, etc., and then you have this sort of new wave of Islamic leadership. They are, I think most of them are good. I think most of them mean well, but they are just, they're ineffective. They don't have anything for us as a people. And they don't speak to our needs as a people. They don't speak to our aspirations and our soul and where we want to go as a people. To me, that's a more profound calling right now than becoming a Shafi'i in my fiqh. That's secondary. I have to be a human first. I have to be a human. I have to be comfortable in my human identity. I have to be comfortable as a man taking care of my family, not feeling ashamed of myself, not seeing myself at a subconscious level inferior to a white man. These are more pressing concerns. And to say, because I've heard some of them say, oh, well, if we still on that page, then the problem's on us. Then you're not a leader just because you talk like that. You disqualify yourself. And I'm gonna tell you another thing. I'm sorry. Now I'm just going on a rant. I'll stop because I'm just gonna put the no signals gonna come up on the screen. Get him off there.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
But I had two more things before we close out. You all have been listening, obviously, to New Freedom Exchange, your cultural expression for social dignity and community empowerment and development. And so we're addressing in these community conversations with Imam Rashad. Today we've been addressing Zawj and Zawjah, one of a pair. And then we elevated it to various things that is connected. So for those who will see this later, put the whole thing in context. Whether
they gotta listen to the whole thing. They gotta listen to the whole thing. No sound bites. They gotta listen to the whole thing. They can't. You know what I mean? They gotta listen to the whole thing. I'm sorry we're over an hour. We usually try to keep our conversations within the time, but I do need to let these questions out the chamber. You know, some say, you know, and get get our imam's opinion tonight. One, what would be your advice? What would be your advice for young adults? Young adults, I'm talking about. Let's talk about just high school, just graduate from high school, all the way up to college, maybe post grad. You know, advice in terms of finding a mate and. You know, just any advice you should give as a married brother to the brothers and to the sisters, you know, but also to our brothers mainly specifically. And on my second question, any dalil, when we say dalil, any ruling or explanation, you know, so I'm saying on this ayat of the Quran where it says that, you know, men can look at women one time, and anything else after one time, you're done, you're finished. You know, so I think that needs some elaboration. You know, so I'm saying we need some edification on that. Please.
So dalil is a proof. It means evidence.
Proof, yeah.
It's like what's your evidence for an action? So or a position. So it's really an evidence behind the ruling. So that's a hadith of the Prophet. It's a hadith. It's not in the Quran. It's a hadith. And you have a few reports that I'm regarding looking at the woman. There's one report even with a prophet's nephew, I believe. He had to turn his head away because it was just a beautiful woman that just struck his attention. So it's just that simple. I mean, that's the tradition of the prophet. You get one look. So that look is, you know, when you first see the woman, and she strikes your attention, then you have to consciously pull yourself away and lower your gaze. And you know, that's all you get. That's all you get. In other words, that first one is acceptable because men are visual, and this is acknowledged in the religion, and that's a weakness. But if you go after it, you pursue it, then you are feeding a weakness. So that's what makes it a problem. It's a weakness, not in a sinful way, though. You know what I'm saying? It's like sugar tastes good. That's not we're weak for sugar. So that's why they could sell us so many sweet things. But that's not a bad thing in and of itself. But it becomes hard to manage if you don't. Like breast milk is sweet. So babies naturally like sweet things. But, you know, it's hard. You know, the one who knows that we like sweet things could start feeding us processed sugar, and now it becomes unhealthy. So it's that's the logic there. What was the other one?
Any advice that you would give to young adults seeking marriage?
Oh yeah. Well, if you want to find a mate and you don't know where to start, the first thing you always want to do is make the proper intention. And take it to Allah to guide you and to help you. I would start there, and then I would continue. How you started is how you should continue. So once you take it to Allah, you be patient, and if Allah blesses you with someone, you take it to Allah again, and you ask Allah to guide your steps along the way. and of course, you just do the basic things as we mentioned earlier. You know, if you let them meet your parents, um, um, and you build in just a righteous way, the way that we're supposed to as Muslims. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's anything profound. I think the most profound issue today is just finding somebody. Seems like everyone is, you know, this is a strange time that we're in. But that's what I would do. You know, so you mean in that way, right? Like for people who can't find someone.
That too. That's included. You know what I'm saying?
Or
Because
do
we
you
live
mean
in it. We
people
live.
who yeah, what did you?
People who are
It
seeking.
sounded like there was
People who are
more to it.
people who are seeking to find a spouse. Number one, people who are seeking young adults who are seeking to find a spouse. Number one, perhaps they
Okay.
can't find a spouse, and now during COVID, now, you know, during COVID, now there's a whole nother topic. That's probably a part two to this. How are Muslims? What are we doing now during COVID? I mean, yeah, certain states are more restricted. You can't go to certain restaurants. I mean, because some have indoor dining, some have outdoor, some don't have nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like how are and the masses are closed, which was probably a center of people where people can meet, at least for Friday. You know what I'm saying? So with a lot of outlets being limited, you know what I'm saying now, and Zoom being this new wave, how are young adult Muslims finding spouses? Because I see Christians that emailing me. I'm only on a I'm on this server, this email, so I get updates. So they already talk about how are we adapting? How are we adapting in a COVID society?
Yeah.
I have yet to see a Muslim, especially from our community, issue any type of not guidance, but like have any type of discussion as to this as it pertains to what we're experiencing right now, which is abnormal. With in terms of we never experienced something like this before in our existence. So it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, to find a mate.
Exactly.
Well, I think that, and again, that goes a little. I don't want that may take us a little over, but I think that I think that our culture used to be. I don't know. Maybe it's different for the younger people. You all who are younger and of that age, it used to be the case where if I knew a brother who was looking and I ran into a sister, or I knew somebody who knew a sister, um, there was a lot of word of mouth hookups in the history of our community. I don't know if we've just gotten away from that. Um, so, or is it a lot of converts? I don't know. I don't know what the dynamic is. So that's why the best I can say at this juncture is just take it to Allah and ask Allah um, for that help. Because I don't know. I hadn't. I've heard some young brothers have told me it's difficult. It's hard out here. It's hard out here. I never experienced that. It was easy for me. So I don't know. But that was years ago. That was what, over 10 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe. So back then, the sisters were plentiful.
Well, the sisters are still plentiful. I mean, that's not
What's
even that's not the
the
question.
problem? I'll say, what the problem is? What's the problem?
What the
What's the
problem
problem,
is?
man? I mean, I guess I'm not understanding if they're still plentiful. I mean, what's the issue? I think what Sharif just put up makes sense. Then say, sister, I don't mean to be, frame it nice now. Don't be sleazy. Like, hey, sister, I see you. Just frame it nice. You can say, look, it's COVID, and I don't have any other way to reach you, and I'm taking my chances doing this. And please excuse the way. I know the whole thing about sliding into the DM, but I just such and such. I would do it that way. Who's your wali? Yeah, man, you better go. You may look. Y'all are hunters, man. Go get you a woman. I don't understand. Go get you a woman. I'm sorry. That's for the private time. But yes.
No comment.
Well, sister, it's gotta be real, man. We got a real platform here, man.
No, absolutely, and there are some people out here who have no problem sliding a DM. I'm just saying from personal experience.
The new freedom.
That's why I said that's
new
part
freedom
two.
juicy.
So it's the way to say it. You want to distinguish yourself, and I think that people are sensitive. They can pick up your spirit from how you approach them. So if you have to do it in a via some type of messaging, do it, but you have to just do it the right way. And you should ask, however you frame it in the last analysis, you should ask to speak to whoever the sisters of Wali is. But be clean, always be clean.
And that goes back to what you said about following the rules too.
Following the rules, and ask Allah to even guide you when you type, because a lot of things can be lost in text. But it's definitely a way to do it. But if you are telling me that there are sisters that are available, me personally, I wouldn't accept to be single. But you young guys, you all are different, man. We grew up, we grew up around older men, man. So you all, I noticed your generation, you guys in the 20s, y'all don't know how to talk to girls anymore. You all play too many video games. So your communication skills are
not over here. We don't play video games over here.
Okay.
Not you, I just mean in general. The young guys, the communication skills are off. Like we didn't have, all we had, when we grew up, you went out to go talk. So you develop that natural muscle. It's like going out to play basketball. But a lot of the young guys, they're just weird. They're strange. They don't have conversation.
And the truth of the matter is that it's a real process, and I think that we can't lose that in this conversation. It's a real process, and so take the steps, right? You talked about following the rules. Let's not skip any steps. Let's not try to do it our own way, because then you kind of get what you get.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, so we want to thank Imam Rashad for stopping by. So I'm saying we always appreciate his wisdom. So I'm saying his edification on these such important topics. Again, this is our inaugural episode. So I'm saying this is our first of many conversations, inshallah, God willing, that we will be having in the foreseeable future. So I'm saying we are going to now. If you like the conversation, please, and we want to continue this conversation, we welcome our community members to come to the chat, tinyworld.com/NFX chat more. We have a WhatsApp group, and we welcome community members to come, and let's have further the discussion, and get to know each other and different things like that, and participate and build community and keep in contact with each other.
You can drop topics. We have a few topics, but you can also drop.
Yes, we're open for suggestions. And
I was saying we have topics, but you can also drop topics. Yeah.
Yes, and also if you like this conversation, we ask you that you share this video to your beloved family and friends. So we ask you to subscribe to our channel, New Freedom Exchange on YouTube, New Freedom Exchange on Facebook, like it, and on Twitch. We are streaming on Twitch for all those. You remember Rashad mentioned gamers, because the gamers are on Twitch, but they're also DJs, and NFX is now on Twitch, which is more important. So NFX is now on Twitch, hoping to attract that audience that's on Twitch as well with some of these important conversations. So we are streaming on Twitch, NFX streaming. We are now going to do any announcements and also spin the wheel, but we call it, what do we call it at? We don't call it spin the wheel. What do we call it? The wheel of faith. The NFX wheel of faith.
The NFX wheel of faith.
Yeah, we're going to spin the NFX wheel of faith for our next topic.
You ready? You ready for that? Okay.
Yeah. Can we share the screen for that so the people can see it as we do it? Boom.
Yeah, you can see.
Nice.
So we have several topics that we already came across in our studies and in our discussions from previous guests on our show that we continue to build upon, because the whole thing is, as Imam Rashad mentioned, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to develop? How are we going to solve these situations? And so while we're addressing it and giving insight to it and guidance to it, we want to also continue it and build upon it. So these are some of the topics that we've addressed over the last several months. The black men and the black women, and that could mean a lot of different things. The colorism and color consciousness, our role in society as Muslims or as Muslim citizens, the cultural scheme that we address some of that today, the state of science, the whole thing, not just with the COVID, but what is our position? What is our involvement? What is our invitation to get into the different sciences, whether it's technology, AI, cloning? There's a lot of issues that a lot of young people are dealing with in their decisions for careers and development and so forth and so on. And scriptural language, the importance of scriptural language, and what is it in the role for our life individually and collectively, and then community development, the concept of New Africa. So, with no further ado, I'm going to spin the halal wheel. You know, we got to come with our own drink and see what it do. Good thing it's not gambling, right? So nobody wins anything, and we're on bang, bang, bang. Community development. So inshallah, not this week, but the following week, right? Every other week, inshallah, we'll have our Imam back here to share not just his opinion, as he gives his opinion, but he's also gives us the proofs and the strong foundation for us to build our life upon from the best of our tradition in this part of the world. So again, this discussion can be continued on our. We just did a short link because most people can't follow the WhatsApp. Again, we thank everybody for tuning in. Imam Musa, assalamu alaikum. Veronica, Ahmed, assalamu alaikum. Sister Sajda Sabri, our dear brother Sharif Abdul Malik, assalamu alaikum. And everyone else who joined us or will join us. I see Bari and a few other beloveds on our platform. So any closing remarks?
Sister Marsha, we'll let you go first.
Marsha. I mean, I think that you know, the topic of me. Can you all hear me?
Yes,
I thought that was me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was me, man.
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know.
Blooper.
Kind of froze up. Okay,
Little blooper.
No, but I just wanted to say I appreciate Imam Rashad for addressing this topic of Zawj and Zawjah with us, and just relationships in general. I think the topic, you know, is such one of those sort of hot topics that can't be addressed in just, you know, this one point in time. So I imagine that it'll come up again in conversation. There's a lot of work for us to do as a community to get that dynamic straight. And so I look forward to further conversation.
Excellent.
I guess I'll go. I'll be brief. We're grateful. I'm saying grateful to be with you all as always. I'm saying grateful for all the supporters, all those who have come out and constantly support us. And this is a platform where we like to be frank, and we like to be real, and we like to give edification. We like to give proofs to what we're talking about. We just don't want to get up here and just sound like we're just talking, just to hear ourselves talk. I'm saying this is not that platform. I'm saying we want to bring relevance to these topics and also bring more clarity to the airwaves, because there's a lot of this discontent, and there's also a lot of misinterpretations as it relates to these topics. So not even just within our own community, the African American Muslim community, but we're talking about the African American community as a whole, and just society as a whole. So this is a very conscious and conscientious attempt to clarify, what I'm saying, those, and to bring education through the culture, because this is a cultural platform. Facebook is a cultural platform. This is social media, what I'm saying, and we are trying to put out a positive representation, and education to the masses. So I'm grateful for this conversation as always, what I'm saying, and always look forward to the growth and development of the platform.
Absolutely. My closing remark is just reminded myself, as our audience as well, 3 things that he highlighted that we don't want to take for granted. What is our main priorities? Building family life, not being manipulated by the culture and those influences in the culture that take us away from our responsibility, and also the importance of us establishing our economics. And economics is more than just monetary. It actually goes back to what he was addressing about the importance of family life, because in history and in other societies and in known societies, it was dependent upon your family and its environment or the family and its development in an environment is how you even got to even come into the family. I mean, you didn't come into a family just to take somebody out. You came in to expand what was already developed. And so economic is more than just a monetary. And I think, as Imam mentioned, some of the influences that we have given ourselves to, in turn, we also give our money to, we also give our attention to, and it just takes us away. So we're thankful for that. You can close us out, brother man. We'll give the last word to you, inshallah.
No, I thank you all. This was a very it was I was, you know, we had some light periods and some more serious periods, but I think that the work that you all are doing is very very much needed. So I appreciate it. So just let me know the schedule, man. I would love to be back as soon as possible. Let's keep it going.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, that's what we're gonna do, man. Until
next time, we're gonna leave with a track. We got a real track, or we got a corny track. I mean, what we got going on, man? You might have to bring the freestyle out, man. We got a freestyle, man.
Yeah, the one that they wanted to cut me out of.
Marsha, we can't hear you. Hold on, just give me the word, Marsha. Give me the word.
Oh, take Marsha off mute.
Sorry, I was on mute. Not the freestyle from back in the day.
Yeah, from back at the convention, 2015.
I see Sharif on here. He might remember this.
If he's still on, but I think he might have logged off. But we could still play if you want.
Are we gonna close out with that?
I mean, I don't really care. I mean, none of the stuff we got in our chamber is corny, man. I mean,
hey,
maybe some others may be corny. None of the stuff we got in our chamber is corny. We don't roll with that. That's what I'm saying.
You know, started something. You got a shot. Everybody got to go back and write some new lyrics.
Now, what do you want to do? I mean, I don't really care. I don't have a preference, so I'll let y'all pick.
Marsha.
I don't think Imam Rashad is singing freestyle though.
Oh,
wait, isn't he in it? Isn't he in it? Or
no, he was there.
Okay.
He was there at this convention. This convention, Imam Rashad, is circa 2015 at Chicago Tinley Park at the hotel.
And somebody was rapping.
Yeah,
we all were.
You might know some of us in this.
Okay,
so we'll leave out with that, inshallah. We thank you all for joining us and tuning in. We gotta do a remix to this because this was a little old, so we gotta get sharper on skills. So until next time, peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Peace and blessings.
My flow raised questions, so you know I got them asking. If the man start swinging, then you know my niggas jabbing. Smack the nigga way back, Jurassic. You know I'ma grab it. Not being greedy, but we got to have it. Most of my niggas make 4 figures, but they living lavish. Hey. Check it, look. You say nice, nice, fine. Nice to shine in the night time. Too black and low in the cold mind, so I hold mine till the grow mine. Kick the suckers to the curb to get a big bit. My eye keys clean them out, super contended. Stacking butter bread, lover getting biscuit. Making up another track on the 5th square. Faking on the cool stoop. Try your luck. Lollygagging in the spider web and get you stuck. You don't want to be with me, go to sleep, Chuck. Stacking NBA paper, Milwaukee buck. People can eat tight jump, mama, don't stop. Yep. Write something else.
Yo, you know that I speak a lot, brothers know I rap a lot. Brothers to the highest style skills, be I'm on the mic. Get it, got it. Brother know I'm good, still stay proper. Even though a brother from the hood with my punchlines, I punchlines, so don't duck. If your brother duck, your brain stuck with no luck. If it gets down, I gets dirty, so what's up? Get the wrist rounds like this down, so hold up. I'm a roll for a minute, lows for a minute, getting slows for a minute, leaving bros for a minute. I can swing it for a track and leaving stones for a minute. Used to be wild boy, got some hoes for a minute. Leave a trainer for a second if they knows for a minute. Somebody stop it.
Hey.
Somebody stop.
That's it. Nice rhyme, nice line. Like to shine in the night time. Too black and low in the cold mind, so I hold mine, time to grow mine. Attention to all the bank, get your paper up. Mine never sleep, the cake and wake you up. They ain't seen it before, what's the paper stuff? Stack imaginary bread, you try to make it up. My number, love me, son, what do you take me for? I see you ready, you play what you hate me for. Window shopping at the mall, by my hate the store. Wonder what the paper like, you make it tall.
Yep.
on 117.
Yeah.
Something where I wrote on 117.
Huh?
Wrote that long time ago.
Yeah. Step back a minute. Modern day went away just to handle some business. Now I'm back moving forward on my own accord. As soon as they heard, they was like, oh Lord. I'm a menace to those that don't finish their business. So the volley of this nolly, but this ain't tennis. Yeah, that's all I got.
Ready?
Alright. I guess it's my turn.
Let him go.
I'm ready for him like Mike, I'm on the mic. I'm dropping stacks, about to play this track back to back. Yeah, I'm spitting bars, so I'm on attack. You know I don't play no crap, straight like that.
Alright. So you ready? You ready? Down 3 is third down, 30 seconds to field goal. I'd rather go for the touchdown. They say G's up, I say G's down. I got my own mind, so I got the crown. I'm the po-po, crown Vic, amen. Amina, boy, I agree, 33rd degree. With my eyes closed, righteousness is the best clothes. Can't get me out the garden, so I partin', so I stay away all day, I pray. Before I get prayed on, before I get prayed on, I gotta take a prayer. Take a picture, get the picture frame on. Go ahead, go hard, go home. Go to hand, go hard, go home. Go to head, make it good, make the bars spit with the bars click. Righteousness, that is. We don't take the negative, the positive, cause it's all good, right? Wrong, cause it's in the hood and it's strong. Ain't nobody gonna get you mad, right? Is you glad or you sad or you sad, right? I got one more part left.